Hi everyone! Thank you for joining the webinar today, Making PDFs Accessible and Collaborative. This is the second webinar in our series of sessions on tools to transform student literacy that we'll be hosting this spring. My name is Kira Harakel, and I'm a member of the Texthelp marketing team, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We have a great presentation lined up today, but before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping items. Today's session is in listen-only mode, but we'd love to hear from you and answer your questions. Throughout the session, feel free to type in the questions chat box of the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll be monitoring it throughout the session, and we will have a couple of opportunities to address questions with the presenters, and I'll do my best to reply to others directly in the chat box. Feel free to test out the chat box now, say hello, or let us know where you're joining from today. Also, I wanted to let you know that the session today will be recorded. You'll receive a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to the recording as well as some additional resources. And if you'd like a copy of the slides to follow along with the presentation or take some notes, I'm going to share a link in the GoToWebinar chat box, or you can also type the URL displayed on the screen now, which is text.help/PDF slides. This is case sensitive. So let's get started with the session. We have two amazing presenters with us today. First is Kathleen Colburn, a product manager here at Texthelp. She oversees updates and releases to Texthelp's suite of literacy products in North America, including the award-winning Read&Write software used by over 18 million students and teachers worldwide. She works closely with the software development, marketing, and sales teams to create, evolve, and promote support software that meets the needs of educators and students alike, while keeping up with the changing landscape of EdTech and in the classroom. And Kathleen is joined by Becky Shorey, who is the manager of strategic projects at Jeffco Public Schools in Colorado, where she is planning for a one-to-one rollout of the district in the fall of 2019. She's a Google certified innovator and trainer, and before her current role, she taught high school earth science, environmental science, and astronomy for 17 years at Green Mountain High School. At the same school, she piloted a one-to-one Chromebook classroom for 4 years and worked one-on-one with teachers as the school's EdTech coach, developing and customizing lesson plans that integrated technology into classrooms. So you're in great hands today to learn about accessibility and collaboration with PDFs. So without further delay, I'm going to hand it off to Kathleen.
All right, thanks, Kira. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Oh, I guess I should have progressed through these slides, but hi, I'm Kathleen. So I'm one of our product managers here at Texthelp. So I'm really excited to be showing you the Read&Write for Google Chrome PDF reader today. As is usually the case with our product webinars, we have a lot to get through, so I'm going to kick things off. Today I'm going to be going through all the different features of the PDF reader, from tools that can make content accessible and collaborative, to integrations with Google Classroom and integrations with some of our other products like Snapburner and Equatio. And then last but not least, I'm going to show some highly anticipated new annotation features that we actually just released earlier this week, and perfect time for the webinar. So I'll get started here. So first, just to kind of kick things off, there are a lot of you on the webinar today, and I'm going to guess that all of you are using PDFs a lot in your schools and in your classrooms. So why are PDFs so popular? Why are they sort of the go-to, file format? Well, so first of all, they're probably the most efficient way of making paper be digital. And in our endeavors these days to have a digital and paperless classroom, a PDF is really one of the most straightforward ways of accomplishing this. You can take textbooks, notebooks, handouts, all of that paper in your classrooms and create PDFs from them, pretty easily. They're also very friendly across different devices. So you could open a PDF, on your phone, on your computer, on your Chromebook, and you'll have a very, similar experience kind of across the board, which is helpful for students and teachers alike who might be accessing a document in school and at home and anywhere in between. Versus maybe some other types of documents like Google Docs or Word Docs, sometimes, the formatting can be kind of funny if you switch between devices, but PDFs stay stable, pretty much however you view them. And then the last reason here is they're very easy to create and to share and also to secure. I'm guessing that many of you might have some type of scanner maybe in your classroom or definitely somewhere in your building. So it's really easy to take a paper document and use that to create a PDF. Also, with a click, you can take a Google Doc or a Word doc and download it and save it in PDF format as well. And then once you've got that PDF, it's really easy to share, and it's also easy to keep the content secure. When you share a PDF with someone else, it's difficult for them to edit your content, so it's a nice way to sort of preserve exactly what it is that you're looking at. So as prevalent as PDFs are, there's also a lot of PDF viewers out there that make it easy to open up a PDF and type on it and share it and all those sorts of things. But so today, when I show you the Read&Write for Google PDF Reader, I really want to emphasize sort of how it can really take your PDFs to the next level, and really provide a lot of embedded supports and tools that actually do more than just letting you look at the PDF. They really enhance student learning, allow for higher collaboration and better communication between students or between a student and their teacher. So all that stuff is what I'm going to show you today with the PDF Reader. So as a quick reminder, the PDF Reader is part of Read&Write for Google Chrome. I'm guessing many of you on the call today are familiar with Read&Write in some capacity. But Read&Write for Google Chrome it's an extension that works in the Chrome browser, and it provides all sorts of different literacy support tools to help students with reading and writing and studying and research. And the PDF Reader is part of it. So Read&Write works in Google Docs. It works on web pages, and obviously the part we're focusing on today is the part that works in PDFs. So I'm going to hop out of my slides now, and we'll actually, I've got one more slide, just kidding. So just to kind of give you an overview of what we're going to be covering today, we're going to look at features in the PDF that can help you to make content accessible, to collaborate with others, whether it's students collaborating together or students and teachers working together, provide instant feedback through Google Classroom, insert math and STEM content, and finally, we will take a look at some brand new tools for freehand drawing and inserting different types of shapes in your PDF. So obviously, lots to cover, but we should be able to get through all of it. So now I'm going to hop out of my slides. So the PDF Reader, since it's an extension in Chrome, it can open pretty much any type of PDF that you might encounter. So if you've got a PDF in your Google Drive, like I have several right here in my Drive, I can open these right up with our PDF Reader. If I have a PDF that I encounter on a website, let's say I'm browsing the Texthelp website and I want to open up one of these training guides, I can click on that PDF, and I'm always going to have this option to open with the Read&Write for Google Chrome PDF Reader. And there's also ways to set it so that it's automatically your default PDF Reader, so it's really easy to just always access it with a click whenever you go to any document that you encounter. You can also even open local PDFs saved on your device. So I've got some PDFs on my desktop, on my Windows computer here, or like in my downloads folder, and I can even open those with the PDF Reader as well. So it has you covered kind of wherever you're working. But I'm going to go into this particular PDF that I pulled out of my Google Drive. So I'm in my PDF, and I've got my PDF Reader toolbar at the top here. If you're familiar with Read&Write for Google, you're probably familiar with several, if not all, of the buttons on this toolbar. So these are all of the different sort of literacy and reading and writing supports that as a student I have access to help make this content accessible and help me sort of interact with it and digest it. So let's take a look at a few of those. So the most popular feature in the PDF Reader is the text-to-speech. So if I wanted to hear my PDF read out loud to me, I can come up and I can use this click-to-speak feature. So this is just going to let me come into the PDF and click anywhere I want to start reading.
In schools across the United States, physical education has been substantially reduced.
So you can see a few things that are happening here. It's obviously got the voice reading out to me, and then there's also this dual color highlighting that tracks along with the words as they're being read, and that can really help students with comprehension. They can see the word and hear it being read aloud at the same time and sort of make that connection. It's also just really useful for, if you think of students that have a lot of reading to do, a long PDF with a lot of text in it, if they just hit play, they can listen to it read out loud, maybe while they're multitasking, working on other things. So it's a really useful feature, for a wide range of learners. Now I can customize that text-to-speech. If I just go up to my little 3 dots up here and go to my options menu. So we have a wide range of voices available here, including a lot of voices for reading content in other languages. So if I'm in Spanish class or French class, I can choose a corresponding voice to read that content out loud. And I can also adjust the speed of the reading. So, I can speed it up, slow it down, whatever my preferences are. And I can decide whether I want the PDF to be read continuously. So if I have this checked, it's just going to keep reading through the PDF from wherever I start it. But if I maybe only wanted to read like a certain section that I had highlighted and I want it to stop at the end, then I can uncheck this box. So lots of ways that experience can be customized for students, depending on their learning preferences and that sort of stuff. If we take a look at some of the other comprehension supports in here, so I've got a dictionary, I've got a picture dictionary, and I've also got a translator. So I can select a word in my PDF, open up my dictionary, and it's going to give me, however many definitions of that word, and I can hear all of those read out loud as well.
Adverb. To a great extent or degree, I'm afraid the film.
I can also get an image for a word, so this could be particularly useful maybe for students for whom English isn't their first language, and maybe they're kind of isolated vocabulary words that they're not familiar with. The picture dictionary is a perfect way to sort of get an alternative means of understanding the meaning of a word. So if I select that word budget, open my picture dictionary, I get an image. These are from the widget symbols library. So just providing an alternative means of understanding a word that I'm presented with. And then lastly, there is a single word translator. So again, to sort of help with like spot checking vocabulary, I can click on a word and click on my translator. There are several different language options for that one. I have mine set to Spanish, and if I click on the play button, it will automatically read out that translation for me with the proper voice.
Educación.
So right off the bat, a lot of tools in there to help students with comprehension and support them in their reading. We'll take a look at a few additional tools that can help with research. And I know Becky is going to talk about these tools as well a little bit later, so I don't want to steal her thunder too much. But so some of the other features that are really great for research are these colored highlighters. So one way these can be used is I can collect information from my PDF document. So maybe I'm going through, I'm doing research for a paper, and I want to highlight certain information that I'm going to use later for when I start the writing portion of my research paper process. So I'm going to go through, highlight some text. Now I'm just kind of picking colors randomly, but there might be certain applications for what you would use different colors for. Like maybe you would use one color for main ideas, another color for supporting details. But once I've selected some text in my PDF, I can use this Collect Highlights button. And it's going to give me some questions about how I want to collect them and which colors I want to include. And when I hit OK, it's going to create a brand new Google Doc that's in my Google Drive. And that document is going to include the highlighted information and also a link back to the PDF. So this is really useful for, if I'm going to start building a bibliography, I can sort of keep track of what all of my sources were. And again, that is a Google Doc that's just been automatically created right in my drive. So I can share it, I can rename it, I can move it to a folder of my choice. That's now my document, so I can do whatever with it, everything that Google allows you to do with docs in your drive. Now another really useful way that these highlighters can be used is to build a vocabulary list. So if I go through and just clear these out, I can use the vocabulary list tool is useful for, could be useful for students to use on their own if they need additional practice with vocabulary, but it's also could be a useful teacher tool if teachers want to build vocabulary lists of maybe topic-specific words that they want students to have more practice with. So in this case, I would go through and highlight some individual words with my colored highlighters here. Let's see. So I'll just pick a few in here. And then this time I'm going to use this vocabulary button that's up on the toolbar. And this is, again, going to automatically create a new Google document for me. And this is going to contain a chart with the words that I highlighted, as well as dictionary definitions for each word and images for the word pulled right from that picture dictionary. And then it also gives me a column at the end for notes. And again, because this is now a Google Doc in my Drive, I can, change it and edit it and use it for whatever I'd like. So I could even change this to say, use in a sentence, share it with my students, have them each fill out their own copy, and now they have a vocabulary sheet to practice with. So, the possibilities are endless with how you could apply these tools. But it's a really easy automated way to create a vocabulary list and then be able to use it to help students with their vocabulary. So that's sort of some of the sort of tools that can help students in their independent work. So if they're reading content, they have these comprehension tools like text-to-speech and dictionaries. They have highlighters to help them with their research and the vocabulary. I'm going to move on, though, to talk a little bit about one of the words that is in the title of the webinar, which is accessible. So accessibility with PDFs can sometimes be a tricky thing, and it's something that can make it very difficult to work with PDFs if you don't have the right tools to make those PDFs be accessible. So in order for Read and Write to be able to do things like highlight text and look up words in the dictionary and read the text out loud, the PDF needs to be accessible. The easiest way to tell if a PDF is accessible is if I, take my cursor, I can grab text here. I can highlight it and Read and Write knows that it's there. But if I switch to a different PDF here, so here's a PDF that doesn't look quite as nice as the previous one. We can tell that this is, a photocopy of a textbook page. But you can see that, you can't actually tell, but you'll have to trust me that I'm trying to click on the PDF right now, and I'm not able to grab the text. So this is just basically an image. And a lot of times what happens is if you're using a scanner to take a textbook or take a paper worksheet and make a PDF out of it, the scanner isn't set to do what's called OCR, which is optical character recognition, which is the technical process that makes that PDF actually be accessible. Now, sometimes it's like a setting on the scanner and maybe it's not on by default or something like that. But I want to talk about a couple ways within Read and Write that you can make PDFs be accessible if they are not otherwise. So one of the ways that I kind of like to think of as like OCR on the go is the screenshot reader. So the screenshot reader is this button up here on the PDF reader toolbar. And this can be used to sort of, it is really OCR on the go if there's a small amount of text on a page that you encounter that you want to be able to read that's not accessible. It's a really quick and easy way to do it. A good example is if you're in a PDF and there's an image, maybe like a picture that actually has text in the image and it's not accessible, you can just drag a box around it to have it read out loud. So let's give that a try on this PDF. If I just come up here and as soon as I clicked on the screenshot reader icon, my cursor has now become this little crosshair. So I'm going to drag a box around this, and I probably made it too tight on the top, but let's see how this works. I release my cursor, or at least release my mouse. Takes a few minutes to process. Like I said, takes a few minutes to process. Sometimes it doesn't like to work with GoToWebinar, but we'll see if this works okay.
These arguments, one need to clarify how I propose to test inadequacy.
So it's get pretty good results. It's going to depend obviously on the quality of the PDF, which this one isn't the highest quality. But that's a really easy way to just, on the go, drag a box around text to have it read out loud. Now there's another way to make your PDF more permanently accessible. So it would be a really big pain to, try to drag a box around this entire page and have it all read out loud. So the other way to do this is with a tool that is a nice companion to Read and Write, which is called Snapverter. And Snapverter basically, it works right alongside Read and Write, and what it does is it creates a folder inside of your drive. So I also have Snapverter installed. When I've got Snapverter, it creates the Snapverter folder in my Google Drive, and it basically just consists of some subfolders where I can drag any inaccessible documents into this top folder, and it will automatically perform that OCR, or optical character recognition. And when it's done, it's going to spit out a nice accessible version of my PDF into this finished folder. So when I start out with something like this, and you can actually see that the PDF reader works nicely with Snapverter because it actually tells me, hey, we can't find any text in this document. It may not have been scanned using OCR, so it gives me a link to automatically move it to my Snapverter folder and convert it. So this is a way that if you're also using Snapverter along with Read and Write, the two work together really well in the PDF reader by sort of automating that process of finding inaccessible PDFs and immediately giving you the ability to make them accessible. So I start out with something like this, and then after I've converted it with Snapverter, I'll end up with something that looks a little bit nicer, or works a little bit nicer, I should say. And now I'm going to end up with an accessible version of that PDF. And that will allow me to actually use my regular text-to-speech tool here. You can see that I was also able to highlight some text. So this is now accessible, and it's going to work better for me.
Before beginning these arguments, I need to clarify.
So that's just a little bit about accessibility. So two different tools within sort of the Read and Write family that allow you to make PDFs accessible. One of those being Snapverter and using it sort of in conjunction with the PDF reader. And then also that screenshot reader tool that's built right into the toolbar. So switching gears a little bit now, let's go back to my nicer PDF here. So I covered, a lot of features that students can use, sort of independently when they're reading and doing research and that sort of thing. But let's talk a little bit about writing on a PDF. Obviously, that's another really big use case for worksheets and other sorts of kind of open-ended response questions. It's not always just about reading the PDF. So there are a couple of annotation tools that allow students to write in PDFs. And a really important thing about this is that the PDF reader is collaborative. So if you're familiar with how Google Docs works, and you can have multiple users in a document at the same time, leaving comments for each other, you can see each other's edits and responses to comments and all that. The Read and Write for Google PDF reader works the same way. So you can see on the side of my PDF here, there's a comment that another user has left. So imagine the application of this being a teacher maybe providing some helpful information or instructions inside of a PDF document. To create a comment, all I need to do is click in the PDF wherever I want to put that comment, and then I automatically get a little pink comment icon. And now here are all of the different features and supports that would allow me to make a comment. So I can obviously just type a comment, but take a look here at the additional sort of support tools that we provide students to give them the flexibility to respond in different ways. So I can turn on prediction, and that can help me write my comment. I can also even dictate, so I can use my microphone and dictate text right into that comment. I can even leave a voice comment. So imagine a couple applications of this. For one, a teacher could actually leave an audio recording of their voice providing instructions to a student, providing feedback, or if a student, maybe has trouble with typing or just would prefer to sort of be able to give their response orally, they can record themselves giving an answer to open-ended questions in an assignment, And you'll see that little voice comment next to each of the questions rather than the student having to type them out. So a lot of different possibilities here. And then there's also even options to add an image or a link. So, down here I've got another comment. Maybe if students are like collaborating on a project here, let's say, and they want to kind of communicate back and forth about what information they want to pull out of this PDF. So I could even reply here, and if I had a link to another document that I thought was relevant to include, or an image, maybe I found an infographic online that I want to include in the conversation. So there's all sorts of different applications here for all these different tools that are built right into the comments. So that's just, sort of commenting on the side of a PDF, which is really useful for collaboration and communication. But there are a few other kind of more straightforward annotation tools that could be more useful for responding to an assignment or writing directly on a PDF. So those are, we have the typewriter annotations and then also the pushpin annotations. So the typewriter is the most straightforward type of annotation. I click on it, and then I click wherever in my PDF that I want to place that annotation. And now I can go ahead and write in the PDF. Again, here I can turn on prediction. So if I want, support when I'm typing, annotation.
Annotation.
So I can use prediction to help me with, spelling and typing there. I can use dictation. So again, I can speak into my microphone and have my words written out for me. There are some font size adjustments. Typically with the annotation tool, what we do is we try to detect the general size of the font within the PDF and then sort of match to it. So if the font in this were, if the font were the size of this active education title throughout the entire PDF, we would pick up on that and make the font be larger by default. But you can adjust this yourself as well. You can change the font color. All sorts of controls here to sort of give students the flexibility to respond however they want. And then they can also play back anything that they've written by just hitting this little play button here. And that's obviously a really useful proofreading tool. If you want to check over your answer, make sure that it sounds right and makes sense. A lot of times if you listen to it, you'll catch certain errors that you may not have caught by just reading it on the screen in front of you. So when I'm done writing my annotation, I just hit the little checkbox there. If I want to go back, I can edit it. I can move it around in the PDF, position it wherever I'd like it. So that's the typewriter annotation, which is best for, if you're filling out an assignment or a worksheet and you want to write directly on that PDF. Another type of typing annotation is the pushpin. So this could be more for if you want to leave yourself a note in the PDF, or if a teacher wants to, leave a little hint or a tip somewhere in the PDF, but they don't want the text to actually appear right on the screen. So let's say, for example, I'm reading through this document and I want to remember where I left off so that I can come back and resume reading. So I could use the pushpin annotation to do that. I just click wherever I want to place it. Pick up reading here. And when I click to save it, it's just going to put this little red pushpin in my document. So, it's not too intrusive, doesn't take up too much space. It's just a little helpful reminder. And again, for a teacher to use that to provide little information tidbits throughout a document, maybe for students, that's a nice sort of non-intrusive way of doing it. So that's a few of the collaboration tools. I'm going to come back to the new stuff that I'm sure you all see on the toolbar and you're just dying to know what it is, but I'm going to make everyone remain in suspense and show you those new annotation tools at the end. But the ones that I just covered, the typewriter annotations, the pushpins, and the comments are all, really powerful ways for students to collaborate with each other and for teachers and students to communicate with each other as well. And, again, like Google Drive, for example, has some built-in commenting features right in its PDF preview window. But just think about all of the sort of support tools and more learning-oriented things that are missing from that. And, in this PDF reader, you've got word prediction, you've got dictation, you've got the ability to leave a voice comment. So those sorts of tools really provide students with the flexibility to respond how they want and to convey their thoughts and their information in the way that works best for them. So speaking of enhancing communication and feedback, particularly between students and teachers, maybe one big question that has come up so far is, does this PDF reader work with Google Classroom? I've shown kind of everything so far from a PDF that was in my drive. So I want to show you now how the Google Classroom integration works with the PDF reader. So I'm going to switch between a couple of different accounts here to show you the student side and the teacher side. So hopefully I won't make anyone seasick with my browser changing around a lot. But I'm going to start off in my teacher account. So as a teacher, I can very easily, from the PDF reader, assign a PDF to my students through Google Classroom. So there are some settings on the PDF reader that need to be turned on so that you have this classroom integration. But once you've got all of that set up, you'll now see that on this toolbar, the only difference from when I was showing it before is I now have this classroom icon on the right-hand side. And that's because I'm signed in as a teacher who uses Google Classroom. So this is just something that's going to work for Google Classroom. So let's say I want to assign this subject-verb agreement grammar exercise to my class. So I just come up here and click on the Classroom button. Now, one thing that I'll point out here actually first is, so generally when you create a classroom assignment, you're taking a PDF and you're making it so, most likely you're going to make it so each student gets their own copy of that PDF. And what typically happens, if you think about a Google Doc, if you make a comment or a copy of a Google Doc, it's not going to carry across, comments and suggestions and that kind of stuff. It's just going to carry across the text. But what if, as a teacher, I wanted to, maybe add an annotation here with some helpful instructions or a reminder for my students, and I want that annotation to carry across to all the other copies of the PDF? Well, you can actually do that with the PDF reader here. So I have this little drop down that gives me the option to share my annotations with students. So this will allow my comments, my voice comments, my text annotations, my push pins to carry across to every single student's copy of the PDF. So it just allows for a little extra customization there. But I'm going to skip over that part for now, and I'm just going to share this, create an assignment for my grade 5 English class. And now this is probably familiar for anyone who's using Classroom, but I give my assignment a title. And I'm going to come down here and make sure that I set it so each student gets their own copy. And then I'm going to hit assign. And now once this has posted to my class, now let's take a look on my student profile and see what that looks like. So now I've switched gears and now I'm a student in the class. And I'm going into my classroom. I see that my teacher has assigned this grammar worksheet. So I'm going to open that up and I can open my own personal copy of it. And you'll see this is automatically opening up in the PDF reader. So all I had to do is go into Classroom, click on the assignment, and it's opened up inside my PDF reader. So now I can go through and maybe use the typewriter annotation here to fill out the assignment. Make that a little bit bigger so it all fits on one line. So let's say I've gone through and filled all of these out. I won't make you watch to see if my English grammar is up to par. But once I finish with this assignment, you'll see that I have a little hand in button at the top of my PDF reader toolbar. So I'm going to click on that. It takes me right back to Classroom, asks me to confirm, and now as a student I have turned in my assignment. And now one more account switch, Now we'll see what it looks like for the teacher to see that the student has turned in their assignment. So now as the teacher, I'm going to go into my classroom. And I can see this, here's the worksheet that I assigned, and one student has turned it in. I can open up Stuart's copy of that PDF. And now see, first it's opening up in the kind of preview window, and it gives me like the controls on the side to add a grade and make any comments. But I can do this open with Read&Write for Google Chrome. And that's going to open it up right inside the PDF reader. And this is how I'm going to be able to see their annotations. Because the annotations and push pins and all those sorts of things, you have to just make sure that you open up the PDF with Read&Write in order to view them. So now I'm the teacher, I'm reviewing Stuart's work, and here's where I can leave a comment. I can leave a voice comment with some feedback. I can, maybe write an annotation in a different font color so that it stands out and he knows that it's my feedback. All that sort of stuff is possible. So it really makes it easy for student and teacher to communicate and provide feedback and sort of do that in real time. And that's all, again, just built right into the PDF Reader toolbar if you're using Google Classroom. Now, for those of you who may not be English grammar fans, but maybe you'd rather look at something a little more math or STEM oriented, that is the last topic that I'm going to cover for you quickly here before we turn it over to Becky. So I want to show you how Read&Write's PDF Reader integrates with Equatio. Now, Equatio is really, that could be the topic of a whole other hour-long webinar, but sort of simply put, it is also a Chrome extension, another solution of Texthelp's that makes it easy for students to create math and to write math notation in different ways. It's a tool that really removes a lot of the barriers that have existed around using technology in the math classroom. Like, you don't need to know math programming languages to use it. You can still, use handwriting and touchscreen devices, so you don't have to worry about putting your computer away and just doing math on paper and pencil. So similar to Read&Write, it provides a lot of different ways of creating math and demonstrating your understanding of mathematical concepts. But that's the very quick summary of what it does, but I want to show you how it integrates with the PDF Reader for a really nice experience. So here is a PDF with some math questions on it. So if I open up Equatio, so this is just another Chrome extension that I've got installed along with Read&Write, and I can open up my Equatio toolbar, and it's going to show up at the bottom of my screen. So within Equatio, these are all the different tools that I have access to create different types of math. So for example, maybe I'll start out with the equation editor. So this is where I can just type math using the smart math prediction that's built in here. So if I'm answering question 1, we'll say, this equals 81. I can type the word times and automatically insert that character times -1. So that is -81. And now when I use this insert math button, so if you're familiar with Equatio, you can insert math into Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Slides, all sorts of environments. But with the PDF Reader, I can insert it right into my PDF. So you can see this has now created sort of a Read&Write looking annotation, but it's the math that I created with Equatio. And the other really, really powerful element of this is I can hear that math read out loud.
2 lines. Line 1 equals 81 times -1. Line 2 equals -81.
So it's a really useful way for, a lot of times with students there might be a disconnect between what math notation looks like on the page, what it sounds like when you read it out loud, and sort of what it means. So a tool like text-to-speech can really help with bridging the gap between at least 2 of those things, because I now know what that equation sounds like. And maybe this is a relatively simple one, but if it was something with variables in it and more advanced math notation, sometimes it's really important and meaningful to hear that read out loud. And that's possible when I use Equatio in the PDF reader. And there's a lot of other tools in here too. So there's handwriting recognition. So if I wanted to, answer the next question here. So with handwriting, I can just write with my mouse, or if I'm on a touchscreen device. So -32 plus. I hope I'm doing this math right. I practiced it in advance though. And now you can see, oh, it didn't like the 9 though. Let me try that again. So now you can see that I hand wrote on one side and it converted it to really nice, clean typed math. And now I can insert that. And again, just place that wherever I want to place it in my PDF. And again, I can read this out loud as well. So a really effective way of creating math notation and then being able to insert it right in a PDF and hear it right out loud to help understand it. So that was a whirlwind look at a lot of the features within the PDF reader, whether it be tools to make the content accessible, to collaborate, to share assignments through Google Classroom, and even to create math and STEM content. So with that, I guess, Kira, do we have time for maybe a question or two, or maybe we want to send it over to Becky? Whatever you think.
I think we have time for a couple of questions real quick.
Okay.
So the first question is, how do I access the PDF reader if I already have a Read&Write subscription?
That is a good question. So if you're already using Read&Write for Google, it's possible that in the time that you were using it, you also installed the PDF reader, because they sort of go hand in hand. But if you haven't, you can go to the Chrome store and install it just on its own, and then you'll be able to use it with like PDFs in your drive and PDFs on the web. But the easiest thing to do is if you open up Read&Write in a Google Doc, let's say, that will automatically kind of get things going with the PDF reader. And then if the next time you go to use a PDF, you should be able to open it right from your drive. And we also have videos, and we've got a support site that has some helpful articles for if you're getting stuck with getting started. But it is tied right in with the Read&Write Google extension.
Great, thanks, Kathleen. I think we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Becky right now, but we're going to answer a few more questions towards the end.
Okay, awesome. Are you going to change the presenter?
Yes.
Okay, hi guys. So I want to just take what Kathleen showed you and show you a little bit more about how you could incorporate it into the classroom. So this first thing, she was telling us about the vocabulary list. And what I've found is there's quite a few special ed students that have needed additional time, or my ESL students, they need additional time ahead of time to get used to that vocabulary, because teaching science is very vocabulary heavy. And so giving them the opportunity to have access to the vocab a couple of days ahead of time, or maybe a parent could help them out, can really go a long way. So as a teacher, I can go ahead and use that vocabulary list and actually just post it to Google Classroom. And a lot of you guys know that in Google Classroom, you can go ahead and assign it to just specific students. But if everybody wants it, why not just give it to everybody? So I'd put it in there for additional resources. So here's another thing that you can do with this vocabulary list. So I've gone through some text that was in a PDF. I highlighted it just as Kathleen showed us, and I made this vocabulary list. But especially in science, I find a lot of times you'll notice there's no symbol to go along with this term oxides. So what I'll do is I'll have students either use the vocabulary list that I made or make their own, and then they have to go ahead and complete it, including these symbols. So here's a fun little trick that you can do. If you open up a new tab and you go to, I just type in oxides, O-X-I-D-E-S, and I go to images, and I can see an image here that might work for me for oxide. So let's just say this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab it. So I'm clicking with my mouse, whoops, and holding it. And I'm going to bring it up to my documents. I'm going to bring this image down, and you'll notice underneath this box, there's like a little cursor there. And I'm going to drop it, and it's going to drop that image straight into the box, and it resizes it. So now I've got images that go along with all of the words. Plus, in addition to the notes section, what I can do is have the students write notes about how that word was used within the text. And then I have them go ahead and turn this into Google Classroom for me to go ahead and look at, so I can make sure that they understood everything. So that's just kind of a fun little piece that takes the vocabulary list to the next section. With read alouds, here's another little trick. Kathleen showed us how to activate the read alouds. There is an extension called Screencastify, one of my favorite things on the planet. And Screencastify will go ahead and record whatever is on your screen. So let's say this is being read aloud actively. I activate Screencastify, and it's going to record all of that, and then I go ahead and post it to Google Classroom. So this is really helpful for my high school students that are on the bus and they're like going to a game and missing class. They can actually be listening to what's being read, so they don't have to worry about getting really car sick on the bus, and then they're not getting as far behind in class. So that can be helpful. Here's the next thing, our English language learners. We have a scenario where we had right before school, like 18 refugees come in, some from Africa, a variety of countries, others from Afghanistan. They're put into regular classes and they speak very, very little English. Teachers were freaking out. And they're like, this is really difficult to teach when they don't speak a word. So using a combination of Texthelp plus, with a PDF reader, plus the Google extension for Google Translate, we're actually able to highlight sections of the text. I'll show you how that works. If I come over to book and I highlight a section and I go and I activate Google Translate, oops, I have to copy this, activate Translate, paste it, translate, and it's going to go ahead and put it into Persian. Is this perfect? Nope. Is it a lot better than a student sitting there in class having no idea what's going on? Absolutely. So it's kind of a little bit of app smashing, and it got us through that crisis mode. And so now as the students are understanding English better, they can go ahead and just use the single word translation tool. Again, it's just a crutch to get them through until they're a little bit more functioning with their language. Kathleen was talking about the push pins. Okay, so I have some students, I find specifically with my gifted and talented students, sometimes they don't like all this over here on the side with the comments. They feel like it clutters it up. And so the idea of putting a push pin right there, I'll show you what it looks like. Instead of having the comments over here, the comments are hidden beneath that pin, and it just keeps it a little bit cleaner for those students who really like things being nice and clean. Next up, Kathleen was talking about highlighting tools. So we used in science a CEJ writing model. Make a claim, provide evidence, and then justify your evidence. So she was saying to highlight in different colors. So you could say highlight all your claims in pink, all the evidence in blue, and then you collect the highlights and you have a document, which is great. Here's the other option is I was the other day going through a document and I had to pull pieces out, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make this piece here. I'm gonna go ahead and make that a piece for a main topic. And then over here, I'm going to use the supporting evidence. And then I was able to collect all of those highlights in here. And now I just had to look at this for reference when writing my paper instead. Same thing can be done for students. So it can be incredibly helpful. And Kathleen showed you how to do it. So my hope is that showing you some of those tools, it'll be able to take your knowledge of the tools and kind of take them to the next level. All right, so up next, I guess, are questions that people might have. Is that correct?
Hi, Becky. Thanks for that. I think we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Kathleen so she can show you some of those awesome new updates that we have to the toolbar, and then we're going to open up for questions after that.
Great.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Becky. That's really great. It's always nice to see someone other than someone who works for Texthelp present, and you know, it just kind of adds that added benefit of really seeing an application with students. I like the use of like the push pin rather than the comment. That's interesting. I never really thought about that. But I sometimes get stressed out when I look at a document that has a lot of comments on the side. So I feel like maybe I should try that. All right, so I want to show you guys the latest addition to the PDF reader, which you've been staring at on my screen all along, but I've been ignoring showing you what it is. So, you know, we're really happy with the PDF reader and all of these different robust support tools that it provides. But the one thing that we've been asked about a lot over you know, recent time has been the addition of drawing annotations and shapes and kind of more freehand annotations, especially for, you know, students who might be using touchscreen devices and want to be able to handwrite on a PDF and scribble and make notes that way. So just on Monday morning, in perfect time for this webinar, we released these two new features on the far right of the grouping of tools on the toolbar. So we've got a freehand draw tool, and we've got a tool to insert several different types of shapes. So these are really useful, you know, obviously for students or really anyone kind of working on their own on a PDF if they want to be able to mark it up and you know, circle things and make notes for themselves later. So if I turn on my freehand draw tool here, you'll see I can customize the color of the line as well as the thickness. So I might bring this down a little bit. So I can go ahead now, and I'm doing this on a touchpad, so I'm not on a touchscreen device, but you know, I can make notes here for something that I want to remember for later. You know, I can circle text that I want to use, all of that kind of stuff. If this were like an open-ended assignment and a student wanted to be able to actually handwrite with a touchscreen device rather than typing out their response, they could now use these tools to do that. So really kind of filling in a gap that was previously there with giving users a lot of flexibility to express their, you know, thoughts and understanding using these freehand tools. And then similarly, I've got a couple of shapes tools here as well. So I can choose from square, circle, or line. And again, I can customize the line color, the fill color, the thickness of the line. So I might use this to draw a box around you know, maybe a certain section of the text, or if I want to pull out this section of the graph. You know, the possibilities are really endless, and especially if I actually switch back to that grammar assignment that I was looking at before, the instructions in my worksheet, including, you know, rewriting the sentence, was to underline, just waiting for this to come up. So the instructions were to draw a box around the subject and underline the verb. So now I can actually really easily do that. So I can go ahead and draw a box around the subject here is they. I can put an underline under the verb, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it really opens up a lot of possibilities here that we didn't have previously. So we're really excited about those freehand and shapes annotation tools, and you know, they're very customizable, and again, they are also collaborative. So if you are sharing a PDF with other users, or if a student is sharing a PDF with a teacher, they can view all of those different annotations. They can be printed as well with the print button that's right on the toolbar. So yeah, we're really excited about having those out and looking forward to hearing lots of feedback from our users about how everything is going with them. So we've got about 5 minutes left here. Did you want to do some questions?
Yep, I'll dive into a couple questions that we've had right now. So we had a couple questions about freehand annotation, and is it saved as part of the PDF, or when you share it, does it disappear once the PDF is shared or closed?
So the freehand annotations, and this applies to all of the other types of annotations as well, so the typewriter and the pushpin. So they can be viewed by anyone else who opens up that same PDF with the Read&Write PDF reader. So they'll automatically save. If I closed out this PDF and reopened it, they would all still be there. And if I share the PDF with another person, they'll also be able to see them just as long as they open the PDF with Read&Write. Because basically what we do is we sort of put an overlay on top of the PDF with all of that, all of those extra pieces of information. So as long as you've got it open with Read&Write, you'll be able to see all of that.
Great, thanks, Kathleen. And we had a question about whether or not those annotations can be made accessible by a screen reader.
I believe so. The annotation tool itself has the text-to-speech inside of it, and then I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check on that, but they should be accessible, and you should be able to also like tab through the different options, like the prediction and dictation and all those little buttons that appear inside of the annotation as well.
Great, thanks. And then we had a question if the PDF reader would work in an LMS like Schoology.
Yeah, so it can depend on, because LMSs a lot of times handle PDFs in different ways. So some might open a PDF like inside of sort of its own viewer within the LMS. Others might open the PDF in a brand new tab. Others might download the PDF out automatically and then open it, on whatever your own PDF application is. I'm not familiar particularly with how that LMS handles the PDF, but if it can be opened in the web, like in its own tab, like the way that I went to the Texthelp website and I clicked on a PDF, it opened in a new tab and it gave me that option to open with the PDF reader. So it might take a little bit of playing around with it, or maybe working with our tech support team just to troubleshoot a few things, but if you can get it to open in a new tab, you should be able to have that option to open with Read&Write.
Thanks, Kathleen. And then we had a question if parts of the PDF reader could be used for free.
Yes, so there are several free features within the PDF reader. So the text-to-speech piece is free, so you can read documents out loud. The commenting, just regular typing commenting, those other features are in there premium, but just typing comments is free. The translator is free. And then also worth noting that because the PDF reader is part of Read&Write, all of it is free for teachers. So if you have a free for teacher account of Read&Write, you'll be able to access all of the stuff within the PDF reader as part of that as well.
Perfect, thanks. And then we had a question for the new release in the shapes. Would they need to uninstall the Chrome extension to access those new features?
No, so the update should roll out automatically, kind of similar to the way that our other Read&Write for Google updates do. Sometimes it can take a little time. You certainly can uninstall and reinstall if you want to force the update, but the update will come automatically to everybody. It can just, it has to roll out to all of our 18 million, whatever it is, users, so sometimes it can take a little time.
Great, thanks. And just one more question, I think. We had a question come in. Can a student open and edit a PDF from Drive that has been shared with them, or do they need to be the owner of that?
Nope, as long as they are shared, edit access, they can type on the PDF and that sort of thing. So yeah, they don't have to be the owner. As long as they can just access it through their Drive, they can open it with Read&Write.
Great. And I think that's the last question that we're going to have time for today. We have written down all your questions, so if we didn't have time to answer them, we will be sure to follow up directly with you after the webinar. So stay tuned for a survey that's going to pop up right after this webinar closes out. We're also going to send an email with the webinar resources, including the slides and a recording. And lastly, I just want to say a huge thank you to Kathleen and Becky for your presentation today, and thanks for everybody for joining us. Hope everybody has a great rest of their day.